So for the second to last talk of the day, we have Tara, who's going to be talking about a short-lived campaign of a very interesting stealer. So let's give Tara a round of applause.
Perfect, thank you so much. Right, everybody, thank you all so much for coming to my talk, OopsSec, the short-lived campaign of Cthulhu Stealer. First of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to Andy and Patrick for organizing such a great conference and such a great location as well, although it was raining when I was walking over. So this is going to be a talk about a Mac Stealer campaign, who was behind it, mistakes made, and why it was so short-lived. There's an increasing amount of Mac stealers, which I'll get into in a bit, but this one stood out to me for having a bit more of a human element behind it. So this is just a high-level overview of some of the topics that I'll cover during this talk, and I'll go into more detail through later slides. So, speaker, I'm Tara Gould. I'm from Belfast. I'm currently the threat research lead at Cado. Cado were acquired by Darktrace earlier this year, so now threat research lead at Darktrace. I've been working in security for nearly 7 years now. I focus on threat intelligence, threat hunting, and reverse engineering. My security research isn't really focused in one particular area, so I'll look at Windows, Linux, Mac, and mobile malware. Previous to security research, I worked various software and data engineering jobs, and then that made the transition to reverse engineering quite a bit easier, but it still wasn't easy. So to start off with, I'm just going to give a brief overview of the Mac OS malware landscape, just to give you some context before diving into the stealer. So, excuse me, over the past few years, the amount of Mac infections has steadily been increasing. From 2023 to 2024, there was a 400% increase in Mac malware detections, and this is following on trends that have been seen over the past few years. At the same time, there has been an increase in enterprise users as more organizations are expanding their Mac estates. Previously, Mac malware typically used to be more adware, but that has definitely shifted now to info stealers. I don't actually have like specific numbers for this, but I do think that some of the increase in Mac targeting is probably due to multiple factors, one being that the amount of Mac users is increasing. There is also the fact that Apple products tend to be more expensive, so this could possibly be seen as a better, more attractive target for threat actors if they're financially motivated. And then lastly, this is a bit of speculation, but the user base of Mac laptops would be associated with like younger tech-savvy users, and these could also be people who might be more likely to hold crypto, which is what a lot of info stealers want. So, who uses Mac malware? There's basically two main categories, which is nation-state APT groups and cybercrime actors. In terms of APTs, again, the most reported on one would be North Korea, but I'm sure most nation states are probably developing their Mac malware. It's just that it hasn't been reported yet. A lot of Mac, like the current Mac info stealers, operate as a malware as a service business model, if you will. So we have cybercrime groups using MAS, and then within MAS we have traffer groups, which are sort of a subsection of MAS affiliates. So moving on from who, let's talk about some of the malwares. So here is a few examples of some Mac malware. This is definitely not an exhaustive list though. On the nation-state side, we have Nimdor and Rustbucket. Those have both been used by North Korean actors and are backdoors. North Korean APT groups are, one of the most reported on nation states deploying Mac malware, and quite often they're looking to steal crypto, which is interesting because using crypto allows them to bypass the sanctions that they have had for quite some time now. Another macOS backdoor is Sysjoker. So this was first discovered in 2021 by Intezer. It's actually a cross-platform malware, so there's Windows, Linux, and Mac variants. And that was deployed by a Hamas-affiliated APT group that was targeting defense and national security in Israel. So, moving on from nation state to malware as a service. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, this is just 3 prominent ones. So we have Atomic, Poseidon, and Banshee Stealer. Atomic is currently one of the most prevalent Mac stealers. It was first discovered in 2023, and from its release has inspired a lot of other mass info stealers that we see. Its functionality is typical of an info stealer, so it's looking for credentials, crypto. It's regularly updated to evade detection, and it's available to rent for $1,000 per month. Banshee and Poseidon have quite similar functionality to Atomic, with Poseidon being a fork of Atomic, and they are both available to rent for $3,000 a month on marketplaces, so they're a bit more expensive than Atomic. Okay, so following on from the trend of Mac info stealers, it's time to get into Cthulhu Stealer. For a bit of background, I was just sitting one day in early 2024, just sitting on VirusTotal, not really looking for anything specific, but I wanted to look at some Mac malware, basically just as a change from looking at Windows malware. So I just did a broad search and came across this sample. So, as we can see in the screenshot, it's titled GTA 4 Early Release. If you look at the icon, it's GTA 6, which clearly doesn't even exist. So I'm assuming that the 4 is a typo. Anyway, so that icon grabbed my attention. But at the time, I didn't have like a work malware laptop. So I was just trying to get as much information as possible from VirusTotal without having to like get the sample with it to my personal computer. It was maybe just being lazy. So yeah, like looking through the relations tabs, I see, there's an IP with paths that just look sus. Like you can just tell it's like probably malware. So then I'm looking through the strings and I notice one that says Cthulhu Stealer Bot. I kind of assumed, okay, this must be like a non-stealer. Googled it, didn't find anything further, so I downloaded the sample and started analyzing it. So Cthulhu Stealer is distributed as a disk image, so that means it's targeting both ARM and x86, and it's written in Golang. The malware impersonates legitimate software such as Adobe GNP, Clean My Mac, and in this case GTA 6/4, and it socially engineers the user to open the file to like bypass gatekeeper protections, as we see with a lot of Mac malware. So when if the user opens the malware, they are prompted to enter their system password via an OSA script pop-up. This password is then stored in a text file and will be used at a later point to access keychain credentials, and it'll also be exfiltrated then later too. Additionally, the user is prompted to enter their MetaMask password, and again, that will be stored and exfiltrated later. For the system password, if the wrong password is entered, it actually won't affect how the malware runs, apart from getting access to keychain credentials, but it doesn't like quit or anything. So, along with keychain and MetaMask credentials, basically the main functionality of Cthulhu Stealer is to steal from various data sources and exfiltrate that data to the C2. This data includes browser data, Minecraft, Battle.net, and Telegram credentials, documents, photos, Notes app files, and crypto from 14 different wallet types. And then the keychain credentials are dumped using the open source tool Chainbreaker. As you can see in the screenshot here, text files and folders are created by the malware for staging before a zip is created and sent to the C2. Okay, so on the left here is a screenshot from IDA. This is the builder strings that are used to create a new log that is posted to to Telegram actually whenever an infection has happened. On the right is a screenshot from where I ran the malware in a Mac VM. So this is a log that just includes system information that's harvested, so hardware and software data. They actually do gather quite a lot of hardware and software data. I'm not actually sure why they want that much detail, but whatever. And then network information is also gathered here, and an IP lookup is done with IP info. So as an overview, Cthulhu Stealer is distributed as a disk image. It socially engineers users to enter their system password via an OSA script prompt. It uses this password to access keychain credentials that are dumped using Chainbreaker, and it exfiltrates that data along with crypto wallets, browser data, Telegram and gaming credentials, and system and network information to the C2 in a zip, along with log notifications to Telegram. So I've covered the functionality and the technical aspects of the malware. I'm now going to cover OopsSec mistakes, and this is the part that I find a bit more interesting with the malware. So as I was analyzing the samples, I noticed an interesting string in the malware. Luckily, the malware is not stripped, so you can see variable names. This one in particular is MongoDB server admin. You can't see the full string there, but it's basically a MongoDB URI for Atlas. And lucky for us, it contains the admin credentials. So just for quick context, MongoDB Atlas is a fully managed cloud version of MongoDB. Why an info stealer developer would be using it, and why they would leave the credentials hard-coded into the malware, I really don't know. It's an odd choice. But anyway, so this is good for me because now we have access to the database. So as you can see on the left, there are tables for admin, configuration, logs, and users, along with read-write access. The database entries include usernames, logs, cookies, cards, wallets, passwords, text files, photos, Telegram channels, and dates of build. So at this point, I'm assuming this is some sort of log to keep track of deployments of the stealer. And for me, this is, it's nice data to have because, I don't normally have access to the amount of people that have been affected by a stealer, etc. So this sort of gives me a bit better of an idea of how many infections have occurred. But what I'm more interested in is the usernames. So after making a query in the database for the most amount of cookies, I come across this user who is Balaclav. Now, I figured these usernames probably correlate to somewhere else, so I start searching in Telegram marketplaces to see what I can find, and this is where I find Balaclav, or King of the Cookies apparently, on Telegram, but also on marketplaces where he goes by Cthulhu. So I sit reading all these posts, trying to figure out what exactly is going on here. I realize he is the admin of Cthulhu team. So pivoting from the database, I find various Cthulhu Telegram channels. This here is just a screenshot of just one of the Telegram channels. This one is the received logs. So from the screenshot from IDA before, this is what it looks like in Telegram. So it includes, victim IP, location, password, cookies, and wallets that have been exfiltrated. So that's just one of their channels. They have multiple different channels, including various bots, to notify about logs. There was a meme channel dedicated to the team. And then there's just other general channels where members discuss campaigns, cars, crypto, and honestly, just like a lot of really random stuff that I really couldn't make sense of. I will give them the benefit of the doubt. It could be a translation issue, but we're just talking, a lot of weird stuff. But most importantly, these are public and include members of the team, and specifically where Balaclav is posting photos of himself, he's posting videos of himself. So basically, I spent a lot of time going through different telegrams and marketplaces to get a better picture of what Cthulhu Team is. So, from what I can tell, Cthulhu Team is a Russian-speaking group that is comprised of affiliates who, in this case, rent the Stealer for $500 a month and earn a percentage of earnings from their deployment. The group, adminned by Balaclav, operates on Telegram and various marketplaces. Some variant of the group seems to have been about since at least 2022, and previous activity was NFT and Twitter scams, along with Windows campaigns, so that includes Redline Stealer, and they had used other Mac stealers before, so Atomic and XFFF. Interestingly, early in 2023, Balaclav appears to have been scammed by the operator of XFFF in an exit scam. So, since there's a lot of info stealers on the market, operators behind them have to come up with ways to appeal to affiliates. In this marketplace, Balaclav appears to have created what I'm assuming is an AI-generated image highlighting the functionality of Cthulhu and what it collects. So this just confirms to me what I'm already seeing in the code. So this was posted on a couple of different marketplaces. So I think Cthulhu was available on at least 2 marketplaces. I'm going to focus on one of them in particular. So it's a marketplace that is used for promotion, selling stolen credentials, and arbitration. So arbitration is basically a function of this forum where users can raise disputes with other users, and typically it has to do with money not being paid. So I'm spending a lot of time in this marketplace just trying to figure out what's going on, and I noticed that Balaclav has made a lot of enemies. So this is just a small screenshot. Like, I couldn't get a full screenshot. There was a lot of these. So we can see here that these claims to Cthulhu range from $100 to over 150,000. So I click into one of these arbitrations. This is what an arbitration looks like. We see this, and again, this is just one of many people who are saying similar things, but basically this affiliate is complaining that they were owed money based on their deployment of the malware, and Balaclav didn't pay them, and this is the consistent complaint against him on the marketplace. So a lot of users reported that they had been owed money. Balaclav ignored him, and the customer support they're offered as affiliates also started ignoring them. So from this, it seems Balaclav stopped paying affiliates not long after the Stealer actually came out. So if we keep in mind Cthulhu Stealers released in late 2023, these complaints start coming in early 2024, so a very short period of time. From what I can tell, they were never paid. I'm assuming this is an exit scam on Balaclav's part, and as a result of this, he was banned from the marketplace. The Stealer stopped being used, it wasn't updated, and the campaign ended. Not only that, but the team also appears, I believe they have collapsed too, but I'm sure they can find other groups to join. So, to summarize the sort of Cthulhu timeline. Early 2023, Balaclava is scammed by XFFF in an exit scam. Possibly he got the idea to do the same from that. Cthulhu team continue to operate during this time using various stealers until Cthulhu Stealer is released in late 2023. Balaclava screws everybody over, taking their money. But it's not only that, because of his lack of OopsSec, he exposes himself as well as leaving everything publicly available to anyone who comes across it. And by 2024, the campaign is over, and that's it for Cthulhu Stealer and team. So, to conclude, criminals will scam other criminals. This makes sense because, like, they're not going to go to the police over it. So really, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to get banned from a marketplace. Secondly, malware developers can make the same mistakes as regular developers. So in this instance, hard-coded credentials. The difference is, though, that they can expose their identities, which can lead to legal issues. It also could lead to targeting from, well, if you've pissed off a lot of people like Balaclava has. Secondarily, as security researchers, it's always worth taking an extra look at whatever you're looking at, whether it's malware, infrastructure. You would be surprised at what you can find, and we can exploit these mistakes. And lastly, this really should go without saying after 3 days of an Apple security conference, but be careful on a Mac. Some people still believe that Macs cannot get infected, but as evidenced by this, they can. And with that, thank you.